I know that I'm one of the last, so I don't want to keep you guys waiting a lot. You've been fantastic. The fact that you are sitting here and you're not eating or drinking outside means a lot to me, so thank you so much for being here. My name is Komal Dadlani. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Lab4. And during my science education, I'm a biochemist. I studied biochemistry at Universidad de Chile. My science education was very theoretical. And throughout the day today, in the last presentations, you heard about the future of education and what it means for our economies, what it means for our students, what it means. And if we think about automation that will replace the jobs of the future before 2025, and you already heard the first speaker speaking about OECD data, where students who are entering school today will have jobs that do not exist. What can we do to face this situation? What can we actually do to solve and be prepared for the future of the workforce? So when I studied biochemistry, this was my reality. Everything was theoretical with formulas. It was as if my father would have taught me how to ride a bicycle reading a book. Whereas to actually learn how to ride a bicycle, you need to live the experience of riding a bike, right? Just like in science. To actually learn science, you need to live the experience of scientific experimentation. But to do that, you need equipment, which unfortunately is expensive. This is one example of some of the lab equipment available for schools and universities. These are the costs. And as a consequence, 88% of the schools in Latin America do not have any science labs. So how are we going to learn science? How are we going to be inspired by scientific experimentation, science learning? So if we think about the number of researchers and developers per million inhabitants in the world, when we're speaking about R&D, do you know how many researchers and developers per million inhabitants do we have in the US? Give me a number, approximate number. No? I thought this room was the smartest STEM folks. We speak about 4,600 researchers and developers per million inhabitants in the US. It's a ratio per million World Bank data. How many in Europe? 3,000, around 3,000 researchers and developers per million inhabitants. Who can tell me how many in Japan? Anyone Asian here? Oh. How much? 10,000, but half, 5,000 researchers and developers per million inhabitants. How many in Singapore? 6,000 researchers and developers per million inhabitants. We are in the Pacific Alliance Conference, Latin America. Who can tell me the number for Latin America? All Latin America, 530 researchers and developers per million inhabitants, having Argentina and Brazil leading the number. So if we want to innovate, if we want to build the companies of the future, the next unicorn, as the poster outside says, how are we going to do that if this is our reality? When we think about human capacity and computational capacity, exponential technology changing the world, we see that as humans, we increase our intellectual capacity in a linear way, whereas AI and machine learning, ML, exponential technologies grow exponentially. What happens in this intersection that we're at the cusp at reaching at this intersection? When we think about the robots taking the future, no? People think this is going to be the future and the reality, no? But I'm more of the idea, and there's a quote by one of my friends and investors, Gabriel, who speaks about, let machines take your work, not your jobs. We need to build technology that takes your work, not your jobs. Oh, AI and machine learning is going to take your jobs. No, that's not true. So how can we prepare future generations for this future of the workforce? What can we actually do? So when I studied biochemistry, I met my co-founder, Alvaro, Colombian. I'm Chilean, I was born in Chile. We would think about what can we do to actually change this situation. Today, for the first time in human history, we have a massive vehicle. There are more than 4 billion smartphones in the world that have more computational power than the first computer that took the man to the moon. Smartphones and tablets have several sensors: GPS, accelerometer, magnetometer. Who can give me another sensor that your smartphones have? Come on, smart folks. Luxometer? Yes. What else? Barometer? Camera? How do you take a selfie? How do you send a WhatsApp audio note? Which I hate the audio notes, like 5-minute audio notes. Microphone, that's the sonometer. So what we do is we leverage these built-in sensors that your smartphones already have, and we use it to design science experiments for the schools and universities that don't have science labs. So at Lab4U, we have a mission to democratize science and change the way science is taught. And how do we do this? You can see here our first product, Lab4Physics, uses the sensors of the phone. Here you have students learning pendulum movement, centripetal acceleration, and getting the data in real time. Here they're learning the difference between distance and displacement. Do you know the difference between distance and displacement? This is force, mass, and acceleration. No? In chemistry, with our patented technology in computer vision, you can actually calculate the concentration of a colored solution with the camera. You insert the known concentrations, take a picture with our algorithm, and calculate the concentration of the unknown solution without buying a colorimeter, no? With a calibration plot. And with a $1 lens, you transform the phone into a microscope. And in that way, we are empowering students to actually experiment with this lab in your pockets. This is a traditional class today. Newton's second law. I'm sure this guy over here knows about Newton's second law. This is how we normally teach it inside a classroom, but with Lab4U, we teach it in an experimental way. I invite you to download Lab4Physics, recommend your schools, your teachers, your universities. Here is one example of students actually experimenting with their iPads. This is a school in Berkeley, one of our clients. They're experimenting with their iPads. This is a curriculum director.
Today we did a skateboard experiment with Lab4Physics.
He's a great guy.
And pretty much what we did in that is we tested the iPad on different surfaces.
We're sliding down the iPad to see and measure the speed it goes down based on the distance and time. And we're teaching the little kids how to do that.
These students are probably smarter than all of us together. We are soon launching Lab4Chemistry, which is the colorimeter. Colorimeter costs $500. This is a colorimeter in your phone. We care about learning outcomes, so we focus on the pedagogy, not just a nice technology to use inside the classroom. Our clients are schools, so we don't only have the smartphones with the experiments and the tools, we actually support teachers and decision makers with metrics. No? And then we'll be able to recommend better experiments through AI. My colleague who just presented from Laboratoria, brilliant company. They speak about digital transformation and human transformation. I don't know if you remember Texas Instruments and the calculators. Who's actually using a calculator or a Texas Instrument calculator today? No, or a Casio. We have digitalized the calculator experience. Who can tell me another experience that we have digitalized? When I was in school, sorry, the mic. When I was in school, my parents bought a Walkman for me, a Sony Walkman, right? And now we use iTunes. We believe that Lab4U is going to lead the digital transformation of science experimentation, where the traditional lab equipment now won't be needed, but you can actually experiment with this built-in lab sensors. Today, students have done more than 100,000 experiments with Lab4U. Not only that, we have proven the impact with our partners and also sponsors of this event, IDB. I have an IDB friend over there. They sponsored this randomized controlled trial, a third-party validated randomized controlled trial. What does this mean? This means schools with no Lab4U in Mexico, schools with Lab4U in Mexico, and we analyzed the outcome. Students who run more than 3 experiments with Lab4U increase their interest to pursue a STEM-related career. We're very happy for that. And there are other learning outcomes as well, and I invite you to download the report and check it out. Traction so far, we started in Chile, growing in Mexico and growing in the US. We believe that talent is universal, but opportunities are not, and we want to give every student the opportunity to have this lab in their pockets. How can corporations help? How can big, large corporations help? We've partnered with some corporations where we are designing experiments, for example, with Cemex, which is a Mexican cement company. Students have no idea about cement, and they don't want to work in a cement company. They want to work in Google, Instagram, Facebook, etc. We're working with Cemex today. We've worked with Toyota. We did an experiment. We did an advertisement with some Toyota branded experiments. This was the launch of the first Toyota Mirai hydrogen fuel car. So what we did is we designed an experiment and we launched this on Toyota social media, Toyota USA social media. That's actually me. I had to use a white code that said Toyota. They were paying this marketing material, so I'm happy with it. And they then published it in their social media as brand engagement. So corporations can help with marketing budgets so that this can reach more and more students. Now this slide is not important. This slide is important. The ones who are able, the ones who, yes, 3 minutes, thank you so much. The ones who have made this possible, great team, diverse group, designers, engineers, scientists, educators that are changing the world today. This is the future that we look with Lab4U, that we believe we can achieve. Though speed is measured by miles per hour, life should be measured by smiles per hour, and if we can give students the opportunity to experiment, we'll be able to bring these smiles to their lives. And if we think about the future of the world today, it's actually today here. You have companies like Uber, the world's largest transportation company, owns no taxis. Many of us are staying at Airbnb because how expensive hotels are this week, especially because of Dreamforce, you know, largest accommodation provider, but owns no hotels, or Spotify with the music industry. We believe that Lab4U can be, our dream is that Lab4U to be the world's largest educational lab experience provider, owning no lab equipment. The next Einstein or Marie Curie can be anywhere in the world. This is the future that we believe in. And there's a beautiful quote that I love. The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. Our dreams is to get to as many students as possible, change our economies, change the economies of Latin America and the world through education. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure sharing with you. Thank you so much for staying 4:21 this evening. Thank you.